What's up, ego hackers? Welcome to C.S. Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, C.S. Joseph. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing some of the societal struggles that women have to go through in relation to the Octagram in terms of how they are parented and how they are influenced by society and how that can be very well damaging to them and their life decisions. So, for example, we live in Western society. Western society has to deal with the struggles of ultimately feminism. Feminism always seems to rear its ugly head when you have a lot of peacetime. You could argue it might be too much peacetime. And because of the glut of subconscious developed men who are oftentimes raised by single mothers, it just creates more weak men and then perpetuates the problem. Society does a really good job, actually, of keeping UD fathers, unconscious developed fathers, away from their children. And their children end up being raised by the state or raised by single mothers. And that ends up perpetuating a problem, which ends up ruining these children's lives. And this problem is that it ends up creating more and more subconscious developed men, more and more weak men, basically. And because of that, it ends up also creating a high amount of subconscious developed women. Because, for example, the boys, as they're growing up, they end up being overly catered to, and the girls end up under-catered when it comes to a family. And this leads to women being raised in isolation. And women who are raised in isolation, the biggest problem that they end up facing is that the isolation ends up causing their minds, psychologically, for being more open to situations like, how shall we say, like open to feminism, or being that girl that places her career above the prospect of being a mother, a woman putting more faith into money than into her husband or relationship. And this creates a lot of problems. Oftentimes, men, when it comes to the dating market, they have to compete. They have to end up competing with a woman's ability to earn money. That's not to say that they shouldn't, but it can be a problem. That traditional provider role that men used to have traditionally is really no longer available, and it has, quite frankly, destroyed the mature masculine to the point that the mature masculine in general kind of just doesn't really exist anymore. And usually the holders of the mature masculine and masculine idealism actually comes from unconscious developed men, more so because they're the ones, due to their masculine decision-making power, they're able to guide the masculine course of a subconscious developed man in the direction of having superior masculine perception, where he's like a walking detection unit, and the subconscious developed man is very, very keen and capable at sensing danger. It's one of his best abilities, actually. Whereas the UD men actually struggle in this area, right? They're actually able to spot danger ahead of time and actually react to that danger ahead of time. But it kind of makes sense because subconscious developed men kind of struggle a little bit more with fear than UD men do. And it's not to say that no one's not afraid, it's just that they usually end up succumbing to fear more often. And that can be a big deal. That can be a big problem. So that's just something to be aware of when it comes to these gender dynamics and the Octagram. So what ends up happening, you end up having these girls who are raised in isolation. And when they're raised in isolation, they end up mentally becoming more dependent on society and the system, daddy society, or Uncle Sam, basically, to take care of all their needs, instead of basically a man. I think this is one of the key drivers behind women getting involved with development phase. So, according to Census Bureau statistics, 83% of women will initiate divorce by the time they hit age 35 to 42. They'll initiate divorce with their man. It's called development phase. Development phase is very talked about in the book Eat, Pray, Love. And in my opinion, that book is evil, but it's based on the concept of development phase. It's the best describer of development phase and how a woman ruins her own life, her man's life, her family's life, her children's lives, basically. And that's a key problem. Well, but it all comes from what's going on in childhood. What's going on in childhood is when you have girls raised in isolation, they have to focus basically all of their energies into getting attention, into getting noticed. Girls who lack attention in childhood, they are the ones who become the strong, independent woman who don't need no man, because they end up having to focus everything they have on achievement. It could be academic achievement, sports achievement, beauty achievement, some kind of achievement-oriented behavior, because from their perspective, it's like, oh, hey, if I can achieve something, then maybe my parent is going to notice me, right? They just want to be noticed. All girls want to be noticed. They want to be that little girl that's twirling her dress and trying to get daddy to notice, trying to get noticed. Well, it's hard to be noticed if dad's not around, because mom is perpetuating the generational sin from herself to her daughter, because she herself development phased her daughter's father, basically. And that too ends up causing severe psychological damage and developmental damage to the daughter, to the point that frankly, it's really sad. It's really sad. It's sad seeing girls raised in isolation. It's sad seeing them work on, as children, work on the process of being strong, independent women who don't need no man, and having this severe distrust of men that they take with them into their adulthood. And that too is a big problem. And it's very common. It's extremely common. And it's just an endless cycle of sadness, because these young girls psychologically don't really have a choice, because they're not being noticed. And because they believe they're not going to be noticed, why would a man notice me? Why would I put my trust in a man? And I already have to be achievement-oriented anyway, and, earning money is an achievement, technically. I have to be achievement-oriented anyway, because what this does, that's how I earn attention. So basically, these women, these subconscious developed women, end up believing that they have to earn attention. And so psychologically, their brains are already predisposed to being career-minded, putting career above family. They're predisposed to not be chaste and not care so much about their virginity, and end up having a large sexual history. They're predisposed to acting masculine and acting feminine. There's this book called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell. And in my opinion, he does a great job in this book identifying the overall problem with men, even though the book is really old and probably should be updated. But the main issue is that these men, for example, or his solutions to the book are just not, it's just not going to work. It's very problematic. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But feminism, or feminist girls, ends up starting early on in childhood. The seeds for it are early on in childhood. And it's basically because these girls can't get attention. Is it any wonder that, for example, subconscious developed girls are the one, and you get subconscious development as a result of being raised in isolation? Isn't it any wonder that these girls are the ones who they become the hot chick. They're the girls that understand makeup. They're the girls that really get invested in aesthetics because they are trying very hard to get attention, because they were not able to get attention as children. And in general, women who prioritize getting attention above everything else is actually a big red flag to men in general. Now, I am projecting a little bit here because I'm unconscious developed, and I could say that. And yes, subconscious developed men are very attracted to the hot chicks, to these girls who have these issues from being raised in isolation, where they believe they have to earn attention all the time. And then because they have this belief of, oh, I have to earn attention all the time, well then guess what? That means men in my life have to earn my attention after I've made it, basically, and that they've made it. And it's really frustrating to see, because all it is just a giant projection. These women are projecting, oh, I earned my way, I achieved my way, I'm able to earn attention anytime I want. That's why a subconscious developed woman, she cares so much about her Instagram, her OnlyFans, and she keeps going on in that direction. It's like, it's very common, these feminist things, right? And that's a big problem. That's like a big deal. So how do you fix this? Is it even something we should fix? Well, here's the problem though. Like, what is the result of this going to actually be? The result is very simple. Do you honestly believe that such a woman is statistically going to be able to secure commitment from a man? Because remember, women may control access to sexuality, but men control access to commitment. And so these subconscious developed girls, they're like more likely to be run through and have a lot of men inside of them by the time they're even giving consideration to marriage. The whole I want to settle down now thing is I want to settle down on average around age 29. That way they can still claim that they've been married in their 20s, which is pretty ridiculous and ultimately disgusting, to the point where I lose respect for men who act this way and commit to these girls. But again, the men who commit to these girls, they're losers. Because remember, there's an inverse proportion. A man's future, however bright his future is inversely proportional to the amount of men who have been inside of a woman. Which means the brightest future in front of a man is what will get him a virgin, basically. Versus the man who has a dim future is more likely to get with the hoe who's had 100 men inside of her, basically. That's a big problem, and it's disgusting, frankly. It's completely and utterly disgusting. And it needs to stop. And, but it's very common. It's very common among subconscious developed women. Very common. They want to go in the feminist direction. They want to sabotage themselves by focusing everything on career. But the reason why they do it is because they were effectively raised in isolation. If you were to compare them to the unconscious developed girls, the cute girls, the pick-me's, the girls who don't really know how to do their makeup, the girls who don't really know how to dress themselves well, the so-called late bloomers, right? The late bloomers, and these are the ones who, carry their virginity on and are statistically more likely to be virgins, basically. These women are the women worth investing in. If you were to compare them to the average subconscious developed woman, the cute girl, she don't go out. She's still a virgin. But she got a lot of attention. She got so much attention as a child from her family that why bother wearing makeup? Or, oh, I'm loved just for being me, not because I have to achieve something. See what I'm saying? But all too often we have parents nowadays who have participated in this stupid feminist society the stupid feminist society, such that when it comes down to it, they are ending up passing on these really bad habits onto the children. I mean, alpha generation's screwed. Gen Z, they had it real bad. Millennials, about half of millennials have kind of figured it out a little bit. But even then, millennials are still screwed. Gen X, they absolutely have no clue what they're doing. And let's be straight, boomers are just delusional. Growing up in the 1950s, having free love in the 1960s, in general, boomers are childish. They're childish. They want their retirement funds. They want everything easy. No war, unlimited peacetime. And it creates a very weak society, right? And because of that, we don't have very many warriors. Unconscious developed men, those are the men who are the warriors. There's no warriors. The lack of warriors is a serious problem. So, the nations that have had harder times than us, those are the nations that will beat us in a war. That's a problem. That's a very, very big problem. So, what do you do? What do you do as a result? Well, you do everything you can to strengthen yourself as a man. Girls, if you're subconscious developed and you bought into this trap, see, you're born with value, but because you're behaving this way, your value is decaying and your value is going down. You need to learn how to preserve your value. Stop buying into the whole go to school, go to college, get a job thing. Stop allowing your childhood trauma, if you can, to encourage you to think that everything in life is ultimately earned, especially attention. And sure, you can wear the sexy clothes, you can wear the makeup, you can get a lot of male attention, but men in general will still just see you and be like, oh, she's a woman who belongs in sex-only category. She's not a woman worth committing to. While the cute girls who don't put in any effort, like the effort that you don't put in, guess what? Those are the women who end up securing commitment. And they are never in sex-only category. And all of a sudden, the cute girls who haven't worked hard like you to earn attention, for example, to earn money, to earn career, they have a brighter future than you. They have commitment from a man who's not going to have infidelity, a man who's not going to cheat on him, a man who is devoted to her feelings, a man who actually cares about her and loves her and does it every single day. A man who is invested in her and invested in her children. A man who is able to extract her beauty out of her and build her into something great. All the while you've been focusing on trying to build yourself into something great. The problem is that you didn't. And men know it. Men are just not into you. We're just not that into you. You got to understand how the sexual strategy of men actually work. So the female sexual strategy is hypergamy, also known as monkey branching. Women are always trying to upgrade from one man to another. It's all about upgrading. Whereas the male sexual strategy is called polygyny, which is it's about having sexual variety and access to multiple women. It's about quantity over quality, versus with women, it's about quality over quantity, right? These are the differences in our sexual strategies. So because of the male sexual strategy, men put women into one of two categories. The girl you marry versus the girl you just fuck. You just fuck around and have fun with. The girl you don't truly actually commit to. Subconscious developed men fall in that trap a lot because oftentimes, statistically, subconscious developed men are the weak losers. The soft, spoiled brats, the soft boys, basically. And they have Peter Pan syndrome and they don't want to grow up. So they keep going to the subconscious developed women who have worked so hard to catch the attention of men, and they are so easily catching the attention of the subconscious developed men, and then the SD men end up running through the SD women. And it is absolutely terrible what happens. And those women end up hating life. They end up hating life because it's like, I did everything that was asked of me, and I earned all of the attention that I got. And I earned my makeup, I earned my plastic surgery, I earned my boob job, I earned all of this, trying so hard to get attention because they grew up in a situation where they were not able to get attention from their parent. Could be, most likely, because their mother divorced their father. And then now when they do actually get married, they're going to get married to a loser, and then they're going to divorce him because of that horrible statistic. Guess what? If they're college educated, that 83% statistic jumps to 94%. You see what I'm saying? It's bad. It's really bad out there. So if you're a parent of a little girl, give her attention. Find any excuse you can to give her attention. Find any excuse to have your family give her attention. Give her attention. Attention is so important as a little girl. When she twirls around her little twirly dress, she needs that. She needs it. So that way she doesn't have this dark future in front of her. And that too is a big problem, that dark future. You can stop that. Give her attention. For your boys, do the opposite. Boys growing up in isolation, where they have to earn attention, that is the difference. That is what makes warriors. And if you want your daughter to be a feminine woman, an extremely high value feminine woman who has a lot to offer, give her a lot of attention. Even having her do chores is a form of attention. Praising her for when she does a great job doing those chores, she's having a lot of attention. Attention is everything. You don't want your daughter raised in isolation. It is absolutely terrible. And quite frankly, not only does it kill the soul, but it also takes her future away. Sure, subconscious developed women, they're inevitable. Subconscious developed men, they're inevitable. They're always with us. And that's okay. And they can be there for each other. And that's okay. And they should be supported. But the problem is when these people make up the majority of society. I imagine society that is 50-50, or society which is majority unconscious developed versus subconscious developed, is a healthy society. A society that's used to war and survives war. And because of that, unconscious developed men are bred and raised, and we have our warriors with us. Do you honestly think the United States of America has warriors? Do you think Western society has warriors? They're too busy worrying about their pride flags to care about being a warrior. Do you think our society lacking warriors is what's going to save us from the coming onslaught? I don't think so. And again, the women are this way because the men are this way. The problem is because the women are this way, the men end up lacking motivation to change. So really, the only thing that will motivate them to change is an external threat. The threat of death, war. And then they'll change. But then when they come home, they're going to expect the women to change. But then the problem is with women in cognitive development, once their cognitive development is set, it is set. And it ain't changing, regardless of what environment they're in. And when that happens, do you honestly believe any man coming back from the war is going to commit to her? He's not. And she's not going to be committed to. Which means she's destined to remain that spinster. Remain that thornback. Remain that old maid. Remain that cougar. And having a life of misery in front of her. So many girls crying as they become middle-aged women who don't have a man to commit, yet they're claiming they did everything right. They went to school, they went to college, they got a job, they had their career, used up all of their fertile years on meaningless sex, and a meaningless job, only for them to be alone and to see the cute girls, the UD girls, who got who put in no effort, get the best men. Sad. It's real sad. But there's hope. If you want to learn that hope, go to school.com/CS Joseph, SKOOL. Become a paid member. Learn about the Octagram. Psychoanalyze yourself. Psychoanalyze others. Find out who you are compatible with so you can have the best relationship. Learn how you, as a subconscious developed woman, can preserve your value. How you can make yourself more feminine and less masculine, because you've had to be masculine even to survive childhood. And take yourself to the next level. Because that's basically, literally, all you can do. Because for many of you, it's already too late. And that's sad. I look forward to the day that these principles will be taught once again in female space. And the only way it'll be taught in female space, where the warnings of the grandmothers and the mothers to the daughter come to prevent her from, turning out like a feminist bimbo. Well, I guess that would require her family to give her the attention required to give her those warnings now, wouldn't it? Attention is not earned, folks. It's only given. Just like love is not earned, it is only given. People have to choose to give it to you. So you trying to earn it will never work. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your life. Instead, learn what it is to be a true woman instead of this fake bullshit that you had previously, so that you have a better future and can prevent this from happening to your daughters as well. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.